Hey, what's happening everybody? This is Jimmy Bones, back at it again with another video. What I'm going to be doing with you all today is going to be a quick thoughts and opinions and review kind of video, because a lot has happened, okay? A lot has dropped ever since the 15th. Now, Home Depot and Spirit, as we all know, on the 15th decided to drop everything. And now, sadly, not everything is out there yet, but we did get to see quite a few amazing things that was dropped on us this past 3 days now, I believe it is. And I have to say that I am very, very impressed with a lot of the things that have been put out there, but I think really, in true reality, with me at least, some of the things that I think really just surprised me this year were certain props that were out there. Now, I know there is a liking towards Spirit, because Spirit is known as the company that is really good with life sizes, but I believe that Home Depot at this point is trying to compete with them. Now, why do I say they are trying to compete with one another? And I believe that they are trying to compete with one another because of the fact that they both dropped their Halloween decorations and videos the exact same day. Now, this year, Spirit had a much better selection, in my opinion. But Home Depot, surprisingly, and a lot of people have actually been saying this as well, amazingly, Home Depot had a lot more interesting characters. Now, here's my opinion. So, to me, Home Depot this year did come out with a bunch of very unique characters. And I'm actually more intrigued with Home Depot than I am Spirit this year, even though Spirit had some really good selections this year, a much better selection than last year, in my opinion. Home Depot this year did not have the exact excitement, I guess, that last year's did, because it feels like last year Home Depot had a much larger selection to choose from. Now, they have a lot of old props returning, I believe, this year. And this year they are trying to bring new ones and bring back old ones. But last year I felt as if that the life-size arrangement was a little more diverse. Mainly that's just because it was very creative. A lot of these things that we're seeing this year are small, are a little more generic, I guess you could say, but with a really cool twist to them, which is what makes them unique. A lot of them are just like mad science, the mad scientist. It's really cool to see a mad scientist again, but like, it's generic, and I love that. But what I'm trying to talk about here is like Reapers and evil kings and queens and monsters. But last year we had like a talking gravestone, a bone witch, we had an alien, we had a scarecrow. Not saying we don't have one this year, but it was the first year we had seen one. A gravedigger, and we had just a bunch of these. Like, I think we even had an actual, we had like a demon, and we had all these other types of animatronics. But this year is a little more generic, and I say that because this year they released a jester. They did the King and Queen of the Underworld. They did a remake of the Jack-in-the-Box, which, again, I'm not a big fan of clowns. I did like that one, but otherwise, I wasn't really that, I guess you could say, fond of it. They released the evil fairy boat, and then they did the Scarecrow again this year. The one big unique thing that they did release, though, was the ManEating Plant, but I will get into more of that in a little bit. Home Depot this year, so I definitely did feel like hit it out of the ballpark again, but the selection was just not as diverse. But the character designs were absolutely incredible. There were a lot of, I just noticed there were like a lot of like underworld kind of themed type things here this year. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So at the end of the day, to me, Spirit and Home Depot both, I think, are competing, and to me, I believe that Home Depot hit it out of the ballpark a little more than Spirit. I have nothing against Spirit, to all you haunters, but I do actually believe I enjoy Home Depot's life sizes just a little bit more this year. But this year, Spirit did have a really cool selection. I love the fact that Wacky Mole came back. And I think my favorite life size this year was probably the Grim and the Ghostface out of all of them. I did love that animatronic from Spirit this year, and I think it deserves a lot of credit because of the animation and the motion that he has. He's simple, he's very... he's generic, but in his own good way. He's a normal skeleton with really cool body movements that we would never normally see on a prop, and I love that. But we're not here to talk about Spirit this time. We're here to talk about Home Depot. Now, I wanted to share with you all some of the animatronics that interested me and kind of surprised me, I think, probably more than anything. I'm not going to go over every single one on the list, but I can definitely say that a good portion of these animatronics did surprise me. Now, with the start, I wanted to talk right off the bat about the Jack Skellington and the Sally remake. The Sally remake, to me, guys, is absolutely perfect. I think the only thing I think they could have added more to it was a turning body, or at least kept the closing eyes. And the original Sally was cool to me because Jimmy hasn't done a animatronic in a long time with moving eyes of any of the sort. So seeing Sally blinking to me was really cool. But Sally, she just didn't have much personality to her. The only thing she did was move her arm back and forth and close her eyes. Now with this new Sally, I feel like she has a little more personality, a little more character, and she seems a little less just staticky. And I love the fact that her head moves side to side the way she does. Now, I know these were leaked back in early spring, I believe. And people were talking about how on the Canadian website of Home Depot, they were talking about how they were getting revamps with new movements. Now, that's where the disappointment came in with me when it came to the Jack Skellington. Because the Jack Skellington had no new movements, but the big thing that I did love about this Jack Skellington, though, had to have been the fact that he did sing, and I loved that, and I think that was what this life size needed to be perfect. I just kind of wish maybe they had his head moving, but otherwise I think it was definitely worth it. If you ask me, I think the budget was a little too high to put the head in, because I dare I say it, I think it takes a lot to put movements into these animatronics. So I don't blame Jimmy. I'm just happy that they went through with the remakes of these life sizes and put them in the Home Depot's display this year. Next, I wanted to talk about the major thing that really surprised me this year was actually the Grave Warrior. Now, this Grave Warrior, at first, when I first saw him, I thought he was kind of ridiculous. I didn't really think of him as creepy, but when I saw the video of him, my jaw actually kind of dropped, because he actually looked so much better in the video than he did the picture. Now, why do I say that? I think that the design of him looks a lot better in the video than it did in the picture. The blackness of the armor to me was just incredible, and I thought that the axe was awesome. More better looking, I guess you could say, and so was the face, and the eyes were a lot better looking in the video. Also, I would have to say that what really got me surprised about this was the body movements of the animatronic. The animatronic, I did not expect to turn his head and his body, and I found that very fascinating, especially with such a simple prop like this. I really did love it. But that's pretty much all I have for the Grave Warrior, but I did love him, and he is definitely one of my favorites this year. But at the top of my list, actually, and probably one of the most best and one of my most favorites besides the Headless Horseman, was the Techie Toys Haunting Ghost Bride. Now, you all, you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally have not seen a bride in a long time. And it was very cool to see this bride. The last time I had seen a bride was the Headless Jimmy bride that was made in the early 2000s. But this bride to me was really cool. I absolutely loved the dark black of her dress. And then the fact that they gave her bloodshot red eyes was beautiful. And the fact that they gave her the beautiful detail cracks on her face was cool. And I loved her movements. And what really got to me was her sounds. That is something that I think is absolutely terrifying. And I love her movements because it adds to it. It makes her look kind of withered and kind of just like old-fashioned, you know, like ghost type, I guess, animatronic. But to me, I thought that was really cool. And I think she would work really well in a display if you can make it work out. So that is definitely, to me, a good prop. And what's cool about her is that she's affordable, so I may end up getting this one if anything, because this one is incredibly cool to me, and I'm hoping maybe I can get to her at some point. Next, I wanted to talk about the Inferno Reaper. Now, you all, I saw the picture of this, and we saw the chest cavity and the eyes. But in the video, it was just such a breath of fresh air to see that beautiful orange light behind his ribcage and in his eyes. I love the voice and the movements of him, and what's really cool to me is still that scythe. This is just such a cool take on the Grim Reaper, in my opinion. And I think this guy would look absolutely awesome in like a pumpkin-themed, I guess, graveyard, if you really wanted to say it. But to me, he kind of reminds me of that 12-foot pumpkin head that everybody has been hyped about. But I absolutely love the color that they chose, and I love how it reflects off the black. It looks just insanely cool, and to me, that's what really makes this prop. A memorable mention is the Scarecrow this year. While I don't have a video of him, I did want to just put the picture up again and tell you all that this is definitely a prop that I think still deserves some props, because this prop not only has come back this year, but they also did a little bit of a remake, and I don't hate the new look, but I kind of like the older look a little more, but I am happy, though, they brought him back. Next, I wanted to talk about what a lot of people have been talking about, and that's the ManEating Plant. So this ManEating Plant was a surprise. Now, to me, I like this, but to a lot of people, the voice was very off-putting, only because I think a lot of people were expecting the plant to only growl, but that's where I disagree. I feel like that they did the right thing by giving him a voice, because there's only so much you can do with a growl. While, I mean, it's cool and all for him to have a growl, you can do a lot more and give him a lot more personality with a voice. And I think that's what really made this prop different, and it's what made a lot of people get thrown off. Because the voice alone is kind of goofy sounding instead of terrifying. I do kind of wish they would have used a little more of a terrifying voice, but I don't have a problem with the voice. The voice to me is very cool, and I think them adding voice lines into this prop was awesome. Now, the movements was also a little off-putting to me, even though I absolutely still love them. I actually thought that he was going to move his head and his body side to side, and his green leaves were not going to move at all, but apparently he actually moves his head up and down, and his green leaves move around, which I thought was really cool. So at the end of the day, this prop was definitely a surprise to everybody, but he's still cool nonetheless, and I love him, and I love the fact that they decided to add in the voice anyway. A small little mention for me was this classic electrified monster prop that Home Depot was selling this year. It's Frankenstein, okay? It's Frankenstein. But what's really cool to me is the fact that we haven't seen a Frankenstein in a while. At least for me, I haven't seen like a life-size Frankenstein in a while. And I really did love the way this Frankenstein looked. I also liked the voice. The voice is a big thing for me. And the voice was really cool. Now, what I didn't like was just how the movement, he didn't have like hardly any movements, but he kind of hits that classic Pan-Asian Creations vibe, if you know what I mean. and he only moves his mouth and talks, but I think what really just sells him for me for some reason is his appearance. And his appearance is really cool. It's simple, it's easy to come up with, and it's so generic that it just makes you feel like that's Halloween, because that's what Halloween was based upon. When it got spooky, was Frankenstein, Dracula, and whatnot. And I think this is definitely a really cool prop. And you could honestly put him with those mad scientists, which was also a cool prop as well, and make a really cool scene out of that. So I think you could really get creative. Next, I wanted to talk about the two major props here. I'm a big fan of the 3-foot props. I don't know why, but I am. And this year there were 2 3-foot props I think that really surprised me. And the ones that I really loved this year was the 3-foot Reaper and the 3-foot Pumpkin Twins. The 3-foot Pumpkin Twins and the 3-foot Reaper both were really cool. I absolutely loved the colors of the 3-foot Reaper and his movements. I also really loved his voice lines and what he did. I loved the simple movements, and I thought that it all fit together very well. And I do love Reaper, so if I do get any 3-foot prop this year, I think it may end up being the 3-foot Reaper, only just because of the colors and the design of this amazing prop that we know and love as the Grim Reaper. But what really made me love the 3-foot Pumpkin Twins was the pumpkin heads. I'm a sucker for pumpkin headed stuff. I love them. I think they're simple, they're innocent, and they're really cool. And you can make them look cool. Now the voices are okay. Excuse me. The voices are okay, but I don't believe that it really matches them. But the design is what makes up for the voices. And their little outfits are really awesome as well. And yes, while they only do talk, I do just love the designs of them. And to me, that's what really makes it. And the fact that they are a duo is really awesome as well. But otherwise, there were a lot of other things out there that I was very impressed with. But these, I think, were my top picks this year. And I really did absolutely love these life sizes that Home Depot displayed to us out there this year. So anyways, guys, I really want to know your all's opinions. What was your favorite Home Depot life sizes? What are you all going to get this year? I want to know what you all plan on doing for Halloween. I really want to know. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your opinions, thoughts, and comments. I can't wait to hear from you all. I appreciate you all listening to me and hearing this video. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I always upload weekly, and I never try to disappoint. I hope you all did enjoy this video, and I'll see you all very soon. This is Jimmy Bones, signing off. See ya.